Hey out there. So on this episode, I guess we'd call it, of Let's Talk, I wanted to speak a little bit about some of the practical elements of being a writer or living the writing life. And this is inspired because I've been talking with a lot of writers lately, and I've been hearing the same thing over and over again, which is it feels so good to talk about one's work. So many of us are isolated and kind of trying to hold our practice up all by ourselves without the support of community and other people. And of course, this is one of the reasons that going on writing retreats is so amazing, because you connect with others who are in the same boat. You learn about craft, you get your meals made for you, and all the rest of it. But today I thought I'd give you, 5 tips on how to be a writer. So the first one, of course, is to write. This is the foundation, to create a practice, to show up, to figure out a way to fill that blank page, whether that's morning pages or putting on a timer and writing to prompts, whatever works for you to get you started. It's important to do this consistently. I'm not going to say every day, because some of us can't write every day, but a consistency is good because you start building your neural pathways. Okay, so it becomes easier to kind of plunk yourself down, put the pen to the page, and go. There, you wear away at your resistance. Um, More important, though, than sort of white knuckling it through your morning pages or whatever it might be, is to work on that feeling of settling into your work. Okay, so I like how Dr. Eric Maisel describes it. He talks about how we spend our lives kind of with all these balls in the air, juggling, juggling, juggling. And it's really tough to sit down and try to create while keeping all the balls in the air. So you have to find a way to put those balls down in order to settle into your work. And so a few tips that I give people. One is to have some kind of item on your desk, maybe a snow globe that you can shake up and then watch as that snow settles to bring you into the writing place. This is what I have. So I turn it over and I watch it settle in order to help myself get into that zone. The next is to be open to what your practice is going to give you. And whatever this practice looks like, it might be 10 minutes a day, every other day. It might be taking Sundays off. It's what works for you and what will help you build yourself into that repetitive showing up practice. But we don't want to sort of decide what we're going to work on before it has the opportunity to tell us what it wants to be. So I'm going to quote Pat Schneider here in her book, Writing Alone and with Others. She says, "Your best, your deepest writing often will not come to you first. You have to follow a kind of trail, allow images to come and go, sketch as visual artists sketch, until you get to what Tess Gallagher called something I can't forget. Something that holds you and will hold your reader, something that will not let you go. But don't be asking yourself about this as you write. Just play, sketch, skip from one thing to another." So this is the way that I like to draw things out of me. I don't decide beforehand, I'm going to sit down and write a novel, right? My novel, This Has Nothing to Do with You, started out as my intention to write a short story. And I followed its trail. It became what it was going to be. So we can often find the deepest, most important stories that we need to tell by being open to what our subconscious wants to produce. The next one is, of course, revision, learning how to revise. And this is where a lot of writers get stuck. Getting good at how to revise your work is a skill that you need to build and work on. A few tips: set your work aside, right? Give yourself a little bit of distance so that you can go back to it with that space and prepare to read it. Also, work on your settling before you read it too, because that can be a moment when a lot of anxiety comes up, when we think this is going to be terrible, or we want to be quick to judge it. But revision is not about judging. Revision is about improving, is about taking that raw material of the first draft and finding ways to make it better. So it's not about deciding I hate this or I love this. It's about how can I make this better? Okay. So you can read it out loud to yourself. You can also find a writing group if you really struggle with revision. Find a community in Wild Ground Writers community on Facebook if anybody wants to swap work. A couple of recommended books on revision include Intuitive Editing by Tiffany Yates Martin, The Artful Edit by Susan Bell, and Living Revision by Elizabeth Jarret Andrews. Okay, so you've changed the line breaks 5 million times. Happens to all of us. You've taken out a comma and put it back in 52 times. Happens to all of us. Now is the time to step into those administrative tasks of being a writer and of trying to get published. Try submitting to literary journals. Here in Manitoba, we have the very esteemed Prairie Fire, which has been around for more than 40 years. I'm judging the upcoming fiction contest, which is still open for entries if you want to submit to that contest. We also have CV2 here, Contemporary Verse 2. And next door to us in Saskatchewan is Grain, which is also a long-standing Canadian journal. So do your research around journals. I'll pop a link in of a great list with journals across Canada. It's also a very important thing to read the journals first to get a sense of if you think your work will fit. So go to McNally Robinson in Winnipeg or Saskatoon or your own independent bookstore and find copies of literary journals. Try your library. You can order back issues or even subscribe to a few of them. How to submit. So once you've settled on a literary journal that you want to try, go to their website and find the page submissions or maybe submit. Click on that, and that will tell you what they need in terms of how many poems, how long a piece should be, what genre of stuff are they looking for? Is it creative nonfiction? Is it experimental? That sort of thing. And then create a database so that you can keep track of everything. Fire up Excel or whatever other tool you use, and create columns of the titles of what you're submitting, what journal it is, the date that you submitted. I like to note whether they pay or not, and a results column. I also color code my acceptances and rejections, which I'll share with you. So that you can see how much I am rejected. And all that red just means that the writing life is kind of bloody, but it's also beautiful too. And number 5 is just to repeat these steps. Okay, so it's important not to get hung up on, I sent that out, my work here is done. It can take a very, very long time to hear back from literary journals, sometimes up to 6 months. So you want to keep working while you're waiting. You don't want to get attached to the outcome, right? Because the outcome of whether that one thing is going to be published is not why we write. We write because we love the process. And so it's important to stay focused on that and to keep working. My next novel, which comes out fall 2025 with Freehand Press, was out on submission for nearly 2 years. And so if I was just waiting for that result, that would have been a very grueling and difficult couple of years. So keep on working. That way it won't matter so much if you do get a rejection on the way to your eventual acceptance, of course, because you'll have confidence in your practice, in your life as a writer. You'll be rooted in that routine. Have a great day and good luck with your work.